Hello, friends. Indian economy is going leaps and bounds, and we are the best performing economy in the world. That's what the IMF and World Bank also says that, and our prospect for a couple of few years coming are probably the brightest in the world. Now, this economy also is fueled by consumption. मतलब लोग खर्च बहुत कर रहे हैं, इसलिए भी इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ हो रही है और खर्च लोग बोरो करके कर रहे हैं. So you see people spending on holidays, on education, on buying good cars and houses, and few more things. No, but this kind of consumption is actually fueled by borrowing. A lot of consumption is fueled by borrowing. So I'm not against borrowing. One can borrow and consume that money. But what is a good borrowing and what is a bad borrowing? If you borrow recklessly and if you do not understand the implication of borrowing, it may into a big problem in the future. Nothing against borrowing, but how to borrow and for what purpose to borrow is very, very important. So today we'll discuss about what is the quality of borrowing and how to maintain a good credit. So what is a good borrowing and what is a bad borrowing? Let's say I want to buy a car and I buy expensive car for and the usage of car is just 2 kilometers for going to office and coming back. No, on this case I'll be paying a lot of interest and EMI for this car. Now, this is not a good borrowing. I'm not against buying good cars, but by borrowing for this kind of car is not the right thing because I will actually pay very heavy interest and usage is very limited. But at the same time, if somebody who's into commercial car operation buys a car and pays interest in that, it's a good borrowing because he's actually buying for a business and running a business is going to earn more for that. So, in nutshell, a borrowing should be which gives you more. Always borrow for education because that's going to give you a return in the future. Borrow for your business. Borrow for an asset which will give you more return than the price you pay for it or the cost of borrowing you pay for it. So that's how a borrowing decision should be. So I've seen people borrowing very recklessly. You know, I have had colleagues who will pay their minimum dues on the credit card. Now, credit card has a very high rate of interest, almost 2.5%, 3% per month. So it's better to take a personal loan rather than going for a credit card. So if one has a credit card borrowing, it is advisable to convert into a personal loan. This also spoils your credit record. आपका सिबिल स्कोर बहुत कम हो जाता है, आपका क्रेडिट रिकॉर्ड इतना स्पॉइल हो जाता है कि अगर इफ यू हैव टू बोरो फॉर समथिंग गुड इन फ्यूचर, बैंक आपको लोन नहीं देता है. तो आप हाई इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट पे नहीं बोरो करें, हाई इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट को लो इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट में कन्वर्ट करें और पर्पस ऐसा हो आपको बोरिंग का जो आपको फ्यूचर में बेटर रिटर्न दे सके. खाली एक कंजम्पशन के लिए विदाउट नोइंग द इम्प्लीकेशन ऑफ बोरिंग, प्लीज डू नॉट बोरो. आई हैव सीन मेनी पीपल विदाउट thinking they just swipe their credit card, which is not the right habit. So we should always maintain a good financial credibility. See, there are a lot of benefits of maintaining good financial credibility. By financial credibility I mean that you should always pay your EMIs in time. बैंक के जितने ऑब्लिगेशन है आप हमेशा क्लियर करो, अब चेक मत बाउंस करो. ना ये कहना बहुत आसान है, सभी कभी आपको प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है, लेकिन अगर आपका क्रेडिट रिकॉर्ड अच्छा है तो बैंक आपको लोन दे देगा. अगर आपको लगता है अपना फाइनेंशियल ऑब्लिगेशन नहीं मीट कर सकते हो, आप बैंक के पास जाओ, कोई लोन ले लो, पर्सनल लोन ले लो किसी तरह से और आप अपना फाइनेंशियल ऑब्लिगेशन मीट कर दो. पर आपने पेमेंट्स डिले मत करो क्योंकि उससे क्या होता है आपका सिविल रिकॉर्ड खराब हो जाता है. एंड वंस योर सिविल रिकॉर्ड इज स्पॉइल्ड, इट टेक्स अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम टू इंप्रूव द सिविल रिकॉर्ड. If you keep a good civil record, banks will follow you for any kind of lending. So keep your civil record good even if you are in a trouble in a financial. So a good borrower, a person who's paying always in time to the creditors, will have creditors following them at the best interest cost, and they will help you even at the time of trouble. If you are in trouble, go and tell your banker, they will give you an option. But once you have defaulted, it will become difficult for the banker or the financer also to give you any kind of credit to help you out in any way. तो आप कभी भी अपने चेक पर मत बाउंस करिए, अपने फाइनेंशियल ऑब्लिगेशन मत डिले करिए, और अगर ऐसी स्थिति आ रही है तो आप थोड़ा पैसा बोरो कर लीजिए फाइनेंशियल ऑब्लिगेशन पे करने के लिए. बेहतर तो होगा कि आप इस तरह की बोरोइंग ना करें जो आपको फ्यूचर में प्रॉब्लम में डाल दे. सो डोंट बोरो फॉर अ रेकलेस कंजम्पशन, बोरो फॉर योर एजुकेशन, बोरो फॉर समथिंग व्हिच गिव्स यू अ बेटर रिटर्न इन द फ्यूचर. Pay your home loan or should we invest that money? So I would say it depends on the cost of your borrowing. If your cost of borrowing is very low, then you might as well invest with that money. But it has to be very low. I mean, 7-8% kind of cost, which is the home loan is there. And home loan also gives you advantage of tax benefit. So don't be in a hurry to prepay a low cost loan by breaking your investment or avoiding the investment. Okay. But not at a very high cost. Borrowing a personal loan will not make sense. So depend on cost of borrowing. Always continue with the investment and your home loan and pay it time.